You can tell a company has really made it when its name becomes a verb, right? Like just Photoshop it. But what happens when that giant, Adobe, finds itself staring down the barrel of the biggest tech shift of our generation? Well, that's exactly what's happening. Today, we're diving into the battle of Adobe versus AI. And let me tell you, Wall Street is sounding a major alarm.
So, where does the story start? It all kicked off with a huge and very public warning shot. And it wasn't fired by some small-time competitor. Nope. This came from one of the biggest investment banks on the planet, UBS. And their target? The king of creative software itself, Adobe.
And this wasn't just some little cautionary note. This was serious. UBS basically went from telling investors, hey, you should definitely buy this stock, to, maybe hold off for a bit. They downgraded Adobe from a confident buy all the way to a neutral. And on top of that, they slashed their price target from $430 down to $400. In Wall Street speak, that's a huge red flag. It's a major sign that their confidence is cooling fast. So, you've got to be asking, right, why? Why the sudden cold feet for a company that has absolutely dominated the creative world for decades? Well, the answer isn't another software company. It's something much, much bigger. It's a fundamental shift in how we might create things, period.
And that new force, as you've probably guessed, is the disruptive power of generative AI. This isn't just a new tool or a cool new plugin. No way. This is a whole new kind of challenger, and it is absolutely coming for Adobe's crown. So just to be clear, what are we talking about here? Well, traditional AI is great at analyzing stuff that already exists. Generative AI, it makes brand new stuff. You can just type in a simple prompt and poof, it can spit out these incredible high-quality images or text. And that core ability is what puts it on a direct collision course with the very reason tools like Photoshop exist.
And listen, this isn't some vague, far-off concept. Oh no. This threat has a name, and it's making a lot of people very nervous. The specific AI model that's got all these analysts and investors worried is Google's latest powerhouse, Gemini 2.5 Flash.
So what's the big deal with Gemini? Why is it the one causing all this trouble? Well, for starters, when you put it in head-to-head tests, users are actually saying they prefer the results it creates. But here's the real kicker. It's incredibly good at keeping things consistent across multiple images. And if you're a professional creative, you know that's absolutely crucial. So yeah, Gemini is planting its flag right in the middle of Adobe's turf.
All right, so we've talked about the tech, but this isn't just a tech story. This threat is already having some very real and, frankly, very painful financial consequences for Adobe. Get this, a 35% drop in its stock price. And that's just since the start of the year. That is not a small dip, folks. That's a massive slide, and it's all being fueled by this huge cloud of concern from investors who are looking at the company's future and getting pretty spooked.
And you really have to understand that 35% isn't just a data point on a chart. It's the market basically screaming its anxiety out loud. It's Wall Street placing its bets, and right now, the bet is that this AI disruption is the real deal, and that Adobe might be on the losing end of it.
But look, Adobe is a heavyweight champion for a reason. They're not just going to lie down and take this. The company is already making moves, mounting a defensive play to try and adapt in this brand new AI-powered landscape. Their strategy is pretty interesting, and it's kind of two-pronged. First, they're not hiding from it. They're openly acknowledging just how powerful these new models are. But second, and this is the bold part, they're pulling a classic, if you can't beat them, join them. They are actively integrating Google's Gemini right into their own software, like their Firefly and Express products.
Now you'd think that would be enough, right? I mean, they're literally bringing the competition inside the building, but it hasn't quite calmed everyone's nerves. Even with this big, proactive move, Wall Street is basically saying, nice try, but we're still cautious, we're still watching.
So let's pull all this together. What is the final verdict from the market, and especially from the analysts who sounded this alarm in the first place?
And this quote from UBS really just gets right to the heart of it. They're saying the market might be overestimating how strong Adobe's business really is. You know that moat people in business always talk about, that competitive advantage that protects a company? Well, UBS is warning that Adobe's moat might not be as wide or as deep as everyone thinks, especially with this AI tidal wave on the horizon. So this story is definitely not over, not by a long shot. Right now, the entire industry is basically holding its breath, waiting for the next big piece of evidence.
and that's going to be Adobe's next earnings report on September 11th. That will be the next major signal that tells us how the company is really weathering the storm.
Which leaves us with a final, really big question that goes way beyond just Adobe. As we watch this battle unfold, we have to ask ourselves, in this new era of generative AI, is any creative empire, no matter how dominant or established it seems today, truly safe?